Well, we got nothing but news on potential head coaching candidates for the Chicago Bears. We have news on Eric Bieniemy's status and how the Chicago Bears view him as a potential next head coach. And we got two conflicting reports on Jim Harbaugh and his chances of being the next coach for the Chicago Bears. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every single social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get it. Oh, by the way, it's my birthday today. And also shout out to the General Brandon L. Jet, as it's his birthday as well. You guys will see him in the comments a lot, so shout out to him. Also, with that said, let's go ahead and get into the content. So first up, this is the most recent report that we have. This one's come from Josina Anderson with CBS Sports saying this, that the Bears are expected to have interest in Eric Bieniemy and that right now the team is under evaluation of Matt Eberflus. So look, it seems like per what we're hearing is that the Chicago Bears are really taking a look at reviewing every single candidate that they can potentially have for their next head coach. Now, that does not necessarily mean, per even this article from Josina, is that the Bears are still evaluating Matt Eberflus, and maybe there is still a chance, as we've talked about, that depending on how this Bears team finishes over their final 5 games, that they may very well decide to keep Matt Eberflus. But it seems like right now is that the Bears are reviewing everything and that a new head coach is on their mind and that Eric Bieniemy is going to be one of the targets on the Chicago Bears' mind. Now, this makes sense. We've heard his name out there a lot. That right now the Bears, if they are expected to have him on their list of targets, it makes sense when you look at what he's done with Patrick Mahomes, right, as being the offensive coordinator there and how he's able to work with that. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields and Mahomes are the same quarterback at all. Nobody's saying that. But again, the fact that he's a guy that also, even if you look at what he's done with the Commanders' offense, is fact that they don't have like the big super names there, but he's found a way to make a offensive scheme, an offensive system that gets the best out of those players, and that's really what the Chicago Bears are looking for the most right now. Eric Bieniemy is a name and a guy who's been around the NFL for years. He's the assistant head coach of the associate, I think head coach is the actual title, of the Washington Commanders, but either way, this guy absolutely right now has a big name, and he's somebody who it seems like most teams are circling and realizing that he has been passed up for head coaching jobs before. There was a lot made in the offseason as well as about why he has not gotten the chance to have a head coaching position. But this is a guy who offensively, he's a genius, and he would mark a noticeable change in the direction for the Chicago Bears if they do bring in such an offensive-minded head coach that can then come in and guide this team. And keep in mind, this is a team with offensive weapons. Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Justin Fields, Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, just to name a few, Tyler Scott, Darnell Mooney, maybe even Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in here as well. So when it comes down to it right now, is that even though Bieniemy signed a 2-year contract with the Washington Commanders, getting a promotion to head coach he could be able to take. And so when it comes down to it, we'll end up seeing he does have full play calling duties as well with the Washington Commanders. So what you're seeing from that offense is Eric Bieniemy. It's his vision. It's his execution. Well, as far as the play calling, it's on the players to execute. And this is also a guy that seems like he really aligns himself with players and he gets the most. He really learns those players and get the most. He's not afraid to get creative. You can trust that if he does come into the Chicago Bears, he's going to be somebody that builds his system based off the skill set of the players he has here rather than try to make them fit into a predetermined play calling or scheme. And so that's really what the Bears are looking for. And I think what most people would say that they do need out of whoever is the next person to guide this offense, via that comes through the head coach or comes through them hiring a different person as offensive coordinator. But Bieniemy isn't going to come to be the offensive coordinator. If they are going after Eric Bieniemy, it is going to be for him to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And, it comes down to that evaluation and what ends up happening with Matt Eberflus over this last few games. And, maybe the Bears do end up pivoting and go for an offensive coordinator to kind of fit in with and keep Matt Eberflus. But, I have my own personal thoughts on that. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. But now with that said as well, we got 2 reports on Jim Harbaugh. One coming from Adam Schefter yesterday. He said this. To me, he's always wanted to bring a national championship to Michigan. And I think if he brings a national championship to Michigan, I would think there will be a part of him that feels like he did what he set out to do, and what he intended to do all along. And I think that would give him even more liberty to take the jump to the NFL. Now, again, he's assessed this in each of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, Minnesota came after him. Last year, Denver came after him. And so he's entertained those possibilities. But Adam Schefter coming to this and saying he doesn't necessarily see the Bears being the option that Jim Harbaugh would pick if he does make the leap to the NFL in 2024. Now, also, some reports have come out and said that, Harbaugh was, as far as listed, are expecting to get a nice sizable contract extension with Michigan, but with the cheating allegations and things like that, that may not be there for him. So, that's Adam Schefter's report. But then we got Harrison from Chat Now, aka or Chat Now Sports, I think is what it's called. Bears Now is what it is. And when it comes down to it, that he come out and said that he has actually heard and reported that Harbaugh actually is considering the Chicago Bears, and right now he's the team that the Bears would be focused on if Jim Harbaugh does make the leap to come to the NFL. And so, like I said, conflicting reports. What does that ultimately end up meaning? It means that right now nobody knows for sure. But if you're hearing that Jim Harbaugh is considering coming to the Chicago Bears, to me, that puts a different kind of look and spin on things. And so, like I said, Harrison from Bears Now coming out and said that, Harbaugh right now is interested in the coaching job if he leaves Michigan, and it is the one team that he's interested the most in joining. And so right now we'll end up seeing, right, that right now it seems like Harbaugh's preference, so regardless of him coming or not, his preference is to stay in Michigan. And that's one of the biggest things there. But Christmas Day is the deadline for a new contract with Michigan. And if that does not happen, he would talk to the Bears about a new deal. And he still has love for the city of Chicago. So and also reportedly that he likes what the Bears are building here in Chicago. So when it comes down to it, it's this, right? Everything, when you start hearing that smoke, there's fire. And so the Bears are doing their due diligence on looking at what the next head coach is that could be for the Chicago Bears. Jim Harbaugh and Eric Bieniemy are two veteran coaches, especially Jim Harbaugh, who's won at every level of every place he's ever been the head coach on. Eric Bieniemy, who's an offensive genius. These are two guys that really it makes sense for the Chicago Bears to really be looking heavily at if they do. Now, if Harbaugh has the Bears high on his list, and that's the number one priority, if he does end up leaving the Michigan, listen, to me, that you can't go wrong. Let me not say you can't. There's always a possibility, right? But going out and getting a guy who just wins. He just wins as a head coach of football. Now, there's been some questions and speculation on what he would want, how much control he would want if he comes to the Chicago Bears. And I know I've heard a lot of you guys say that as well. And, from what I've heard and read, I don't necessarily think, I think we're projecting previous things that Harbaugh has wanted at other situations and in scenarios and saying that must be what he would want as well. If he comes in here and he trusts what Kevin Warren's bringing, if he trusts the vision that Kevin Warren is selling him on, if he likes the way Ryan Poles and stuff has done things, that's not necessarily true just because he would have wanted that at other places and other locations. So at the end of the day, we'll end up seeing what comes down to it. But I like what we're hearing. I like the Chicago Bears are considering these two guys. And even though it's been pretty straightforward as far as those rumors being around those guys for a while, it still takes you to intentfully go after those guys and have those guys on your target list because, listen, the Bears could very well try to go cheap again. Because I tell you what, bringing in Bieniemy, bringing in Jim Harbaugh, it is not going to be cheap to bring in either one of those guys to bring in to be your next head coach of the Chicago Bears. So we end up seeing that. Now, before we go, I know this. I said this is all coaching topic on it. We also want to talk about some with Ryan Poles. When you hear things like, Kevin Warren's coming on more to take a bigger part of it when it comes down to the football operation. Some people, even the rumors a couple of weeks ago about maybe Ryan Poles' job isn't as safe, even though that's been come out and been squashed. We really have to look at Ryan Poles and what he's been as the GM of the Chicago Bears. And so right now, I think that Ryan Poles has set the Bears up in a good position. And when you hear things like Bieniemy would be interested, Jim Harbaugh would be interested, you got to look at what Ryan Poles has done, right? He's found building blocks for this team all up and down, whether it be Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Roschon Johnson, right? Re-signing Cole Kmet, getting DJ Moore in the trade that he's gotten. He has came in here and gotten building blocks that absolutely will be part of the Chicago Bears' success, hopefully going forward. Bringing in Montez Sweat, trading for him, and then immediately signing him in and locking him in to a contract extension. Then you got to look at how Ryan Poles. I know a lot of people call the Bears cheap and things like that, and I understand that. But the preserving of cap space and getting more draft picks, he's done an extremely good job in making sure the Bears are set up, at least for the foreseeable future on cap space and having draft picks, getting the most bites at the apple and adding talent to this team. And I really like what Matt Eberflus has done, even what he made for the trade with the number 1 overall pick. Now, that doesn't mean everything's been perfect. Giving up that second for Chase Claypool ended up absolutely being a loss for Ryan Poles and a bad move. And that's why I like that when he did trade another second for Montez Sweat, coming in here and getting him locked into an extension shortly thereafter says something. But right now, the Bears are projected to have the 6th most cap space in the NFL. The 6th most after having the most this previous offseason. And then when you look at also the picks, we'll have 2 picks most likely in the top 10 unless the Bears do go on a winning streak here to end this season. And so right now, it seems like Ryan Poles has been in a position where he has learned from his mistakes as far as the Chase Claypool mistake per se, right? He's also come in, locked in a veteran in Montez Sweat. Let's see what he does with the Jalen Johnson one. That would be another, mistake that he's learned from if he does find a way to lock in Jalen Johnson rather than what happened with Roquan Smith. Ryan Poles has made really good decisions. And while those decisions haven't paid off in the wins that we want and that we need and deserve as Chicago Bears fans, he's put this franchise in a really good position to really make that. This is probably going to be the year where Ryan Poles has to make the moves that next season get us into playoff contention, even if that is just fighting for a wild card spot. You have to look at that. I know we came in here rebuilding, they said 3 to 4 years, things like that. But when you look at the talent, the Javon Dexters that come in this team, the Terrell Lewises that come to this team, how the value you've gotten further down in those drafts, and now to be able to still have a lot of cap space to go after marquee free agents, to still lock in some of your own guys, get this draft right as well, and we could be talking about a Chicago Bears team that is actually taking the field in postseason play for a while. Now, I came into this season with hope of it as well, so I'm not going to get into that until we see what actually happens and see how the product on the field looks. But I think Ryan Poles has done a really solid job in just how he's built this team and the way that he set it up with assets. And, we'll see if that continues this offseason. But, hey, hopefully one thing that we see this offseason is a better head coach to come in here so I can stop complaining about Matt Eberflus so much. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you're following the show at Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.